Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This is another interview for Overcoming Graduation. I'm very excited to introduce you to my next guest, John Lapointe. And am I saying that right, John?
It's actually Lapointe.
Lapointe, okay. So, John, thank you for being on the show today.
No problem. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, John has a very unique background and an interesting story that I think you guys are going to love to hear about. John is a guy who, on his website, it says, is transforming space and changing lives. And when I originally met John, he told me that he creates spaces through his design, through his landscaping, for families to create memories. So that was so much more than what I've ever heard of somebody say for a landscaping job. Most people would just say, oh, I do landscaping, or I kind of move things around. So what I'd like to hear, John, is how you got started. You know, what did you study in school, and what kind of prompted you to create your own business and this life for yourself?
Yeah. For me, I studied broad field, kind of liberal arts, social sciences, and kind of, studied religion and philosophy, and then English, and then natural resources, and I was all over the board. And then I, for a couple of years, was in college, and I just kind of studied, just kind of at school, doing all kinds of stuff that I enjoyed. I like this class, I'll take that. I like this professor was great, I'll take that, But I had no direction. It was pretty bad. On the 10-year plan is what it was looking at. But so I ended up traveling abroad, which was the best experience the best decision I made in college was to travel. I used different groups that I was a part of to travel, it was just perfect, because those memories are huge, very informative.
Where'd you go to?
I went to Poland. So
awesome.
all around Eastern Europe we traveled, but I studied in Krakow at Jagiellonski University for 3 months. So,
awesome.
And it was amazing. I actually met my future wife there, and we spent 3 months walking and drinking wine and eating kebabs and all that great stuff in an old European city. But anyways, I got back to the States, and I could no longer be confined to a small college town in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. So I went to Milwaukee and started going to school there, and was in my 4th year. This was a year and a half after getting back from studying abroad, and I still didn't know what I was doing. And I'm like, this is just crazy. So I went to my advisor, and I'm like, what is the quickest way to get out of here? I don't care what it is. I was thinking about teaching, and then I was like, okay, if I went to teaching, I'd be in for 3 more years. And it's like, no way, I cannot handle this anymore. So I just ended up designing my own degree, and it's just kind of an obscure program that they have that allows you to put together different fields, and you got to get the chair people from the different departments to sign on. And so I created it as a broad field, social science, peace studies, educational policy, communications, and just kind of put all these together. And I was out in 2 semesters. It was brilliant. It was perfect. But I got out, and I had done some, I really, as a child, it's all about the land and the people, and we grew most of our own food growing up, and lived pretty poor. We were a pretty poor family, but very rich in terms of our experiences. Mm-hmm. And there were 8 kids. I was the 5th of 8. And
wow.
There were 6 boys in between 2 girls, and we just had a really extraordinary childhood. My parents lived in kind of cut their teeth in Chicago and were part of a kind of a community serving the poor there. Mm-hmm. And so they ended up taking their family, a young family, before I was born, moving to the countryside in south of Madison in Wisconsin. So they had this kind of real sense of service and serving the poor and kind of being engaged with life in that way. But they also really wanted to be in the land, on the land, working the land. Mm-hmm. And so they brought this kind of sense of service and being able to connect with people, very extraordinarily poor people, mentally ill people, drunks, and, drug addicts, and all of that. They would bring them to our little working farm in Albany, Wisconsin, to have picnics, and then they would put them up and they would stay at our house, and we even built this extra little house up on top of our hill so that we could serve more people. So they would bring people to live there. So anyway, so we had that kind of like really extraordinary eclectic group of people around us, and we had this real fantastic piece of property where we, I grew up climbing on rock formations and playing with water that, melted off the hillside in the spring, and, digging into roots and building forts and climbing on hay bales and, all this stuff that was just all about the land. So I had this kind of like connection to land and then connection to people, and, so all this was like craziness. Was, and then I traveled a lot, so I had all these experiences that really kind of like kindled me. Mm-hmm. And getting out of college, I was like, oh, what the hell am I going to do now? But I knew I loved agriculture, so I actually tried to get into urban agriculture. So I just thought, okay, well, yeah, I grew food, as a kid, and I liked that work. I was a really hard worker. I enjoyed working outside. And so I kind of pursued that path, and pursuing that path was, okay, well, who are the organizations that I think are doing what I like and what I admire? So I went to those organizations and I knocked on doors and talked to the people who would listen to me and asked them, how do I engage with you? Try to learn about what they had to offer and, in a sense, got to see what kind of life they lived too. So, and I ended up just, running into a lot of dead ends with that. And so I the summer after I graduated, I took a job doing landscaping, and it's just basically doing kind of restoration landscaping. So working with native plants, and it was basically a lot of weeding and just gardening for the most part. And
this was working for someone else at this point. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So this is right out of college. This is I ran into this landscaper, and he hired me for just a summer position, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of cool. I like this. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I'm like, are you kidding me? People pay you to do this stuff? I was like, what? Because I grew up in the country, it's like, you would never hire a landscaper. That's a joke.
You would just do it, yeah.
You would do it. What's landscaping? We were in the country, it's like, I don't have flowers for show, we have, it just didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. But then I started to it opened up my eyes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, there's tons of people paying for this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, but then I'm like, a lot of this stuff I think is ridiculously boring and just stupid. Like what they're doing with these properties. Like, are you kidding me? You call that cool, in terms of landscaping. So then it just kind of was like the seed was planted. Like, wow, well, I can do this, and I actually really like this, and I'm really good at talking to people. I talked myself through college.
You invented a major, yes.
So, so I just that one summer I just kind of like, I'm gonna own a landscape business, pretty much is how it came down to. I talked to my boss at that time. I'm like, he was kind of hemming and hawing about what he wanted to do, and I'm like, well, I'll go in with you on this. We can figure something out. I didn't have any money, so I didn't really have anything to offer him except for my my energy and my excitement. But so I didn't, but then he was deciding at that time that he was kind of sick of what he was doing, and he wanted to move. So I'm like, sweet. Well, I'll take your customers. And so it ended up that he moved to another city, and he basically sold me his business. And I didn't have any money, so I said, I gave him like a percentage, like 10% of anything that I made, I gave to him for a couple of years.
And so you were 24 at this, like 23, 24 at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're
24.
Now you own your own business, you've got it started, and so how did you get rolling from there?
Yeah, well, just a lot of phone calls, and, I just started to, just offer myself, hey, I can work hard. That's about all I had. And I really knew nothing. I knew how to work, and my parents, I had a lot of work as a kid, but I knew nothing about any of the regular landscaping, So I would, because I had a kind of a little bit of a customer base, I would go to them and I would kind of engage their curiosity, excitement. I didn't have anything to sell except for, ideas. Like I did some reading and this, well, rain gardens are cool, and they're environmentally friendly, and that's kind of a unique thing that's not people aren't doing. Maybe I can do rain gardens, and I thought, I had these grand ideals about, what I could do with, rain gardens and this and that. So I just started talking to people, and then I, because I had a little bit of a foundation of customers, and I had people who were going to, at least give me a hearing, I just started, selling, and ended up running into a few instances where they kind of expanded my understanding of what's possible. So I wasn't just weeding. It was, okay, well, there are these couple schools that he had worked for, and I started to ask them, well, why not expand this? Why not try this in a different way and this and that? So anyway, basically what I did is I learned through selling and through asking my customers or potential customers, what I can do for you. Basically, it's what can I do for you? Here's my hourly rate, or, what do you want done? And then I give you a price, and then I would try to negotiate or do whatever, do whatever to make enough money to pay my bills. But what I did that I would, that was really valuable is that I always had people, anytime I sold a job, I didn't pretend that I knew it all. I would just go and ask somebody to come teach me, or I would call somebody and say, hey, how do you do this? Or I would read about it and learn about it, and or I'd hire somebody, a consultant, to come and work for me on this job, which was, a way that I just soak it. So I just basically became a big sponge. I just started learning whatever, and then I realized, you start learning and you realize, oh, you really don't know anything, and you better do something about that in a hurry. So I ended up going to grad school for a year and studying landscape architecture, and it laid the foundation then for me to really have something to talk about, something that I actually know something now. So then I started to develop like that, information and structural foundation. But at the same time, I was just realizing that, holy cow, my childhood really informed me. Like this really is the seedbed or the groundswell that is going to make all this possible, because I have it within me. I just have to kind of link that up with some of the skills and some of the actual good ideas. So that's the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And that's very cool. And I loved what you said about the continuing education piece, because I think it's so critical, but also there we go. Just having trouble with the speaker there. But what I think is so critical is so many kids forget, or they think that once you finish school, once you finish college, you know everything you need to about life in order to live the life you want, to be happy, to be successful in your business. And everyone who graduates realizes that couldn't be further from the truth. If you had good teachers, you had people that taught you how to learn, not what to learn. They let you open your eyes to the possibility. And so what I love about what you've done, and just for the listeners, I've looked at a lot of John's projects online. I also saw him featured on the local news, which, congratulations, that was really cool. And it was a really just a fantastic display of creativity, but also working with nature and using renewable sources. So what I'd like to know a bit more about is, so when you started growing your business, what was the point that you realized, because you have a couple people you're working with now, correct?
Right.
And what was the point where you realized you were going to need to hire some more people, and then how did you go through the hiring process to determine who would be right for your company?
Right. Yeah, the thing that, that I've done, probably you could call it my greatest gift or my biggest weakness, is that I've been very fly by the seat of my pants. And I've been at this for 10 years, and I'm just kind of coming to it now, realizing, oh, well, I better really get my stuff together and start doing this, like a real business. But, in the early days, it was just, you just use your instincts. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're getting a customer. Well, I realize that I have a week, or I have maybe no work. Okay, well, I talk to this customer, and I'm like, okay, well, they want me to do this, this, and that. It's going to take me 3 or 4 days. And then all of a sudden, I make a couple calls, and I get 3 or 4 more days worth of work, and then boom, someone, refers me, and this happens, and that happens, and I have 3 weeks worth of work. So I say, oh, well, I better, it doesn't make sense for me to do all this myself. It's going to take me 3 weeks. And then, why don't I get this done in a week and a half? And then at the same time, I can be selling the next job, and, I can do a lot more work in a lot less time.
Right.
And also I realized that I didn't really like working alone. I wanted to be, it was kind of exciting to do this with people, and like, I was just very excited, I wanted to talk about it, I wanted to learn, and I wanted to keep, doing cool stuff, and I didn't want to, it's just kind of boring, pulling weeds all day is really, it's pulling weeds all day. It's not that exciting. So, you're learning, and I always learned about plants, and, I learned about my craft, but, there's a limit to that. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of really, acknowledging who I am. I could have been someone who I could have really enjoyed weeding. There are people out there who are really like gardening, just like, I want to be a gardener, and that's awesome, because there are tons of people who really need a great gardener. Mm-hmm. If that's what you want to do, then awesome, and that's, but for me, I'm like really intensely ambitious. Mm-hmm. I want to be a part of something that's phenomenal. I want a feeling of greatness where I'm accomplishing something really, really dramatic, and that really comes down to relationships with people, and how you engage with them, and how you develop ideas and strategies, and then projects, and whatever you're doing with other people. That, to me, was the pinnacle of excitement. If I could do these things with a group of people. And so I just kind of always had that trajectory of, I want to include other people. I knew that if I included other people, I could bring in their skills. All right, well, I can't sketch worth a damn. I can dream up a space, but I cannot draw it. I have the, chicken scratch that no one can understand. And so I like, okay, well, I can't draw. I'm not going to spend my days learning how to draw. That would be ridiculous. I would spend my whole life doing it. I still would suck. So I'm going to grab this person. They may not have the energy or the imagination that I do, but they can sketch. So it's like, okay, let's sketch this. And okay, well, what about this? And how about change that a little bit? And, this and that. And it would be like this go-between these people. And it was fun, so that's kind of the crux of it is just learning who you are, acknowledging, just being honest, like, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not. Okay, well, why would I do what I'm not good at? It's a waste of my time.
And
so that's where I came to.
That's awesome, because I think so often people will look at what they need to do to start a business, or what they need to do to grow, and they think, or if they want to be an entrepreneur, for example, they want to create something on their own, they think, well, I need to be an expert at everything to be an entrepreneur. But the reality is, I think some of the best entrepreneurs in the world just hire the best people. It's like they say, hire someone smarter than you. These entrepreneurs identify what they're really good at, and they focus on that. They also identify what's not their forte, and then they bring in the best people to do that. So it sounds like that's what you're able to do, and that's how you're able to create these incredible spaces for people. And so you said, I want to be part of something huge, that I'm incredibly ambitious. So what is your ambition? Now, I know dreams and goals change throughout your life, but at this point, you're 34 now, you said?
Yep.
So you're 34 years old. At this point in your life, what is your goal? What's the big, beautiful dream and mission in the sky for you?
Yeah. Well, right now, I want to create a phenomenal business that serves my customer to the end. This takes this idea of making really cool spaces for people, and spaces that help them engage with nature, because that's really what a landscape is you're trying to get engaged like you want to appreciate or enjoy your space,
right.
you know. So I just kind of take it to the next level. But there's a certain segment, you know, of the industry that really, really appreciates fantastic space, that has a little bit of creative touches to it, that just kind of makes them excited, makes them happy to be home, you know, or to come home to, or they have some people come over and they're like, dang, who built this, you know, or like, this is my space, and, you know, it's not some designer's dream, no, this is my dream, this is my space, was part of a collaboration that we had with this company that walked me through this and made it mine, you know, and they did it so well that every time I interacted with them, I was like, wow, like, these guys really know how to take care of their customers, you know, like, so there's a way, you know, there's a way to go about serving people that is about serving people, you know, like, what does this person want and need, and what are they dealing with that I can help them with, you know, and just really focusing on alleviating suffering, or, you know, like taking away their the thing that makes them uncomfortable, you know. And so basically my ambition is to make that business that just from very beginning to, you know, through the marketing process, you know, how I communicate with my marketing, how I, you know, engage with them at every single step in the before unit. You know, Joe Polish and Dean Jackson talk about the before, the during, and the after unit of your business. So every little nuance of each of those sectors, I want to just dominate. I want to just have so much fun with and architect an amazing experience, so that we not only create these incredible spaces that are truly can be life-changing, but also do it in a way that just makes people happy, you know, because that's the other, you know, we can make a cool space, but if you're an asshole, you know, no one's gonna, what are they gonna say when their friends come over? It's like, yeah, they did a good job, but, you know, I wouldn't recommend them because they're really difficult to work with.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I think, and I know that if I start, you know, pulling apart this process and adding little bits of this and little bits of that, and like being a teacher and a trainer and an architect, and, you know, I know that the dollars will follow. You know, I'll be creating so much value for my customers that they'll be referring in, you know, I mean, on and on. So up to this point, you know, we've created a lot of great spaces, and I've been a sculptor of spaces, and now I'm just transitioning to sculpting a business, you know, because, you know, as an entrepreneur, you grow, you learn. Like, I spent years as a craftsman, you know, as kind of like diving into how to make a really cool space, you know, and everybody who has a dream has that thing that they're going to do, that they're going to develop and make their own, you know. But over time, that changes, you know, and you're going to learn about the other things that excite you. And for me, like, I'm really excited and really driven about just making a really awesome business, because I want to do, you know, this is each thing you do and you do really well is just a stepping stone to the next thing. And I know the next thing for me is just to take this idea that I've developed over 10 years of just making these awesome spaces and turn it into a really phenomenal business. And I know that once I make this really phenomenal business, if I can do that once, you know, the whole world will be open to me. I can do anything I want at that point. You know, it's really hard to build a great business. Really hard. And you have to work at it and just blood, sweat, and tears, and you know, I mean, it's hard. You know, I've you know, you pay the price, you know, but it's a price, if you're willing to pay it, the riches in terms of satisfaction and just life, you know, what life has to offer you if you're willing to take a risk is phenomenal. You know, there's nothing better than it. So anyway, so I know that, like, I'm going to build this next phase, and then I'm going to go from there. You know, I know that the next thing, you know, that's just the way I work. I'm going to keep rolling.
And that's That's fantastic. And there's a couple things I want to call out that I just kind of noted through hearing your story. That one, I love how what you're doing ties back to your childhood, to your roots, to your family, that your family always had the sense of service, of helping, of making a difference for people. And so that's something that is a part of you. Like you said, know yourself and be yourself. That's deeply ingrained in you. And so you're continuing to weave that into everything you do. Another key thing I want to call out for the listeners is how many times you use the word happy, excited, thrilled, like these wonderful, bubbly words that are great things, because when you're making a business that is truly what you're passionate about, like you said, it's not always easy. It's not all happy, skipping, sunshine and rainbows. There's good days and bad days, but when you work through those bad days to reach those wonderful new accomplishments in your life, it's amazing the satisfaction you feel. And I think it's phenomenal to hear. And the other point I wanted to hit on too was, when you graduated, you're like, I really didn't know what to do, so I just started. And you got started on one thing, that evolved into something else. And I think with my generation, because I'm 25, we are so used to instant gratification now that we get really excited about something. We see an opportunity, we try it, we fail, and we go, oh, yeah, that's it. I can't download it. I can't Google the answer. So why continue? But it's when you're willing to push past that initial breaking point, or to not even look at it as a failure, look at it as a growing opportunity, then you're able to take all those little growing opportunities and build it into something wonderful. So, I mean, I'm loving the story, John. It's fantastic to hear where you've come from and how it's grown and developed. And I love how it's not, oh, I did it, I made a business, I'm done. It's always, how can I serve more? How can I build more? How can I be greater? And another really key point to the listener, so Joe Polish talks about you get as much value back as you create. And something that John said is he wants to create more value. Notice he didn't say I want to make more money or I want to get more clients. It's all about creating value. So if you want to start a business, if you want to succeed at work, if you just want to build your relationships, create value for the people around you, and those things will just inherently come back. So those are just, I went on a little rant there, but I really wanted to call those things out because they're fantastic.
Well, I would go, and implore your listeners to, and I love engaging with young people and, about themselves, because I'm always like really pushing and hammering, tell me what you're excited about. Mm-hmm. Like, tell me what makes you excited. Like, a lot of times you really have to look, you really have to have enough self-awareness, because you go through school and you're told what to do and this and that and this and that for 20 some years. So you got to be a damn good detective to really look into your life, into your childhood, into your classes, into your great teachers, into whatever you have that just grabbed hold of you then, and you can recall it, and you actually just sit with it. Okay, well, what was that? And then to start to connect those things to other things. Okay, so what's the next thing that connected me to? Well, those things I'm excited about, or that excited me. Those are actually connected. And so there's other things that you've done that are connected. Okay, well, so your job is to just take that string of connected things that really grabbed you and project it forward. Say, okay, well, now because you're out of college, now you have to make decisions. Like, you have to push and go to the next level, which means, like, okay, well, where can I relate this to, and just start going out into the world, and whether it's searching online with or going through LinkedIn and connecting with people, or whatever it is, just going after it. I mean, you just have to go after it. Mm-hmm. You have to develop your person. In order to develop your person, you have to put yourself on the edge. There's no other way to become alive. I mean alive, but to become successful, or to become, what you want to be, or to, whatever it is you want to call it. But you have to put yourself on the edge. Mm-hmm. So you might as well just acknowledge that right away and say, I'm going to go put myself on the edge. Yeah. Because then you get that constant feedback loop. If you're going to sit back and just pretend that things are going to come to you, you're kidding yourself. You're going to be one unhappy person for a long, long time, and you're going to think, and then it's just going to get harder and harder for you to uncover what it is that you should be doing, because you're going to get stuck doing what you have to do, right. Which we all have to do things. But if you're aggressive and you go after it right away, and even if you're working for somebody or working for yourself, whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, you just got to go after it and realize if you're working for somebody, that if it's not working out, you can go work for somebody else, and you're going to learn from where you're at from that person. You just got to keep moving and keep working and keep going after it. So that's, and I would just say, one more thing regarding that, and it's kind of another whole, discussion point, but it's really, there's nothing wrong with suffering. There's nothing wrong with, you have, I've gone, it's been a lot of ups and downs in the rocky road, but you can't grow unless you do it. You can't.
Unless you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, because when you're in your comfort zone, there's a reason. Things are safe, they're familiar, they're normal. When you're finally willing to say, I don't want safe and good enough, I want unknown and extraordinary. It's like you said before, so many people are just existing, they're not living. And in order to live, to feel alive, to feel engaged, to have the courage to look at what it is in your heart and soul you love and go for it. It's going to be hard at times. Because, like you said, there's times where people can't even see it for themselves. And I saw a quote recently. It might have been Sean Stevenson, but he said, don't look for proof in the world for what doesn't exist already. Because so often people go, well, I'd love to be, this crazy new thing. And people go, well, that doesn't exist. Where's the social proof? But that's how truly wonderful, beautiful, innovative things come to light, is when people are willing to embrace their passion and take it forward. So, I really appreciate you sharing the ups and downs, because, anybody who says it's all good and I've got the secret formula is a liar. There's going to be goods and bads. Nobody has everything figured out. So I appreciate the honesty through it. And so we're coming up at time. So I'll have two more quick questions for you.
Sure.
You've given a lot of great advice. I think the people who are about to graduate, the people who have graduated, myself, are really going to benefit from this advice on how to grow, on how to strike out. If you could go back and talk to yourself right when you graduated college, you had all that uncertainty, all that doubt, all that kind of fear about what the world or what life was going to bring. What would you recommend to your former self, and what would you recommend to students at that age or kids at that age right now?
Yeah, no, I think it's ask for more help. I made some major mistakes just because I was just foolish. It's like, if I'd have just asked, somebody who's been there before, they probably would have said, it's probably not the best idea. But it was just totally blind, just like blind, just duh. You look back and you think, wow, that would have been pretty easy, So, that goes along with just being a constant learner. You just got to keep learning. There's so much incredible information out there right now, and like this podcast is an example of that. You're connecting with people and giving insights into the world where 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago it would have been a heck of a lot harder to get this type of information. So, if you're that's what I'm doing myself. I'm constantly learning. These podcasts, and there's so many great people out there that were just so willing to share. I'm just amazed. So go after. I would say that learning piece, and I would say, you're never going to regret going to a seminar or going and sitting down with somebody and buying them a cup of coffee and just ask them some questions, and you're never going to regret that, because it's going to lead to something. It always leads to something. Everything you do, every action you take will lead to something. You just have to be okay with that, feeling of, uncomfortableness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the ability to grow is just so. My parents always used to say to me, you'll never know how willing people are to help until you're willing to ask. And it's amazing how many people would love to help a young entrepreneur, a young businessman, but they don't know you want it or need it. And once you truly define who you are, accept and embrace your goals, and put it out to the world, no matter how crazy they seem, all of a sudden you're going to find there are people just as crazy, maybe crazier, who've done it 10 times and want to help you do it, which is fantastic. So, John, this has been great, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I want people, especially in the Milwaukee area, because if you guys need some landscaping or a space created to create memories, you need to be contacting John. So, John, where can people come to find out more about you and learn more about what it is you do and the message you're spreading with the world?
Yeah, business is Greener Roofs and Gardens, and its the website is grglandscapes.com. So it's Greg, Raymond, Greg, GRG, and landscapes plural. Yeah, website, check it out. I'm always looking to engage with people. That's what makes it fun. So it's awesome. Brian, this is awesome. Thank you for doing this and for taking your own risks. And man, you're going to learn. You're learning so fast yourself, and then to be able to do that and share that with other people, it's just fantastic. So
thank you,
work, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And for all the listeners, if you want to find out more about John, I'll have a whole write-up on overcominggraduation.com. I'll have the link to grglandscapes.com and maybe put a nice picture of John up there with his big, bright smile to share with the world. So, all right, John. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, and you have a great rest of your night. And please try to stay warm in those Wisconsin winters. I know they're brutal.
I'll do my best.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Bye.